Do you ever find that your mixes sound a little bit empty, which makes you feel like they're amateur? You're just not filling space, there's a lack of depth. I want to show you 4 creative ways to create some effects to fill this space and add that professional polish. For those who don't know, my name is Zach Edward. I'm a teacher with Cosmic Academy, and we're an artist development program that's been around now for 10 years, and we've had 500 students come through. The one thing we care about are results, and our students get them. They sign to some of the biggest labels like Spinnin, Toolrom, Anjuna, Armada. They also play some of the biggest festivals and shows like EDC and Ultra. We've relaunched this YouTube channel because we want to help you get results now as well. So without further ado, let's hop into the video because I have some really cool effects I want to show you how to make. All right, so for the sake of this tutorial, I created some rough idea that we can mess around with. The point is going to be creating atmosphere effects, but let me show you what the idea is.
We can be everything you wanna be. We can be
Okay, so first one we are going to get into is vocal atmosphere. And I want to show you a really cool trick. Now, I'm going to do something specific in Ableton with their reverb, but keep in mind, you can do this with any reverb, just set an obnoxiously long decay time. So I have this cool vocal right here.
We can be everything you wanna be.
And it's already in the key of my song. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record this vocal with an extremely long reverb. Notice there's a 13.5 millisecond decay time on here. And I'm also going to take advantage of the freeze button, which once I engage this, it will hold the reverb out over time. So this is roughly what it's going to sound like before we record.
We can
Okay, so the next step is going to be recording this into our DAW. I'm going to utilize this resampling track I have up here, and basically let's just undo this loop bar. I'm going to engage the record. We have my vocal phrase soloed. I'm going to hit record on my DAW, and it's going to start to record this vocal with the reverb into this resampling track, and I just have to make sure I engage the freeze when I'd like to. So let's try this. Okay, so now we have just a sample of vocal atmosphere up here. And now what I'm able to do is use this just like a regular sample. So let's cut maybe like a small snippet out of this. And we'll open up a new track underneath here. We'll call this vocal atmosphere. I'm gonna bring it down. And let's just see what happens if we loop it out to start. Pretty sick, right? Like we have this cool atmosphere that's in the key of our track now, and I could even take it a step further. Let's say I want to create more of like a rhythmical kind of pattern to this. Let's maybe drop an LFO tool on here. We'll set up a gate. I always like to hop to this preset here. Right, you could do cool shit like that where you automate it. You could just have it stay. Now, even with the LFO going there, let's maybe also set up like a subtle auto pan on here. We'll make it move around. The second atmosphere tip I want to show you today starts with you taking your finger like this and dropping it on the like button. So you like this video, it'll help us out a lot. Also be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because we put these videos out pretty frequently and I would never want you to miss one. So getting into the second tip, let's check it out. This second one I want to show you is so easy to make. It's just a high string drone. You can also use a high detune saw. Let me show you with an instance of a violin string. So all it is playing the root note of my song. And I do have the octave cranked up a bit, so you're going to hear it's going to play very high. Now I want to mix this at a level where it's just audible, but not really noticeable. I don't want someone ever being like, yo, Zach, the string in your break is amazing. Like, that just means it was way too loud. This is supposed to just fill the mix, create some atmosphere, and also a little bit of high end tension. So listen to how I would mix this in a real instance. It's cool, right? It just adds that little bit of high intention. We could always still slap like a really long reverb on here. We could also clean up with a little bit of EQ. Now, what would happen if you don't have a violin patch or a string, or you want to just try something slightly different? Let's open up an instance of Serum. I'm going to do a detune saw. Let's lower it one more octave. Yeah, something like this. Such an easy one to make. I highly recommend you use it. This third tip is going to require a little bit of creativity, messing around, and luck, if we're being honest. But when you get this right, it could be extremely cool. So we're going to play with delays on sounds and create these weird, in this case, grain delays, which throw a ton of variation, and it just creates these almost like imperfect delay, click, clack, atmosphere hits that can work really well in context of a track. So let me just show you what this sounds like. Without a delay, I think they're just little conga hits or hand drum hits. Yep, so it's in the key of my track as well. I'm just playing a random pattern here. Let's put a grain delay on. And this is honestly just one of the presets. There's all different presets within the grain delay here in Ableton, but there are other cool plugins that do this, like Portal. You could just use regular delays, turn up high feedbacks. You can create some cool random imperfections. And I just want to record this, so I basically have my own effect sample of randomness. So watch this. We're going to resample into the track underneath like we did earlier. So I'm soloing this channel. I've selected resampling, and now I'm just going to record it as an audio file into the channel underneath. Once we have the file recorded here, what I've done is I've just put a couple effects. You can see there's an EQ, I have a delay going on, as well as an OTT. And what this is going to do is kind of just make this delay, first of all, last longer with this extra delay with a high feedback. It's also going to compress the hell out of it. So you're going to notice towards the tail end of the sample, it almost sounds like rain falling, which creates this cool atmosphere that I clearly didn't have when I started. So check it out. So this little part at the end is what I want to kind of capture and record. So we're going to freeze and flatten this. And now we have this long effect as just audio. So I could basically cut whatever part I want out of here. And let's see if maybe any of these work better than another. Not crazy about that one. Let's try a different cut that I had. Let's even go another 4 after. This one's nice, especially because it's so wide, it almost fills out the sides of the mix while the music stays in a little more center focused. So this one was complete randomness. The process is never going to be the same, but you could see, start with some crazy grain type delay, throw some effects on it. We can put more delays. We could compress it. You could put a reverb on this. But in the end, we ended up coming up with some random atmosphere that still seems to fit the mix really well. All right, for the fourth and final atmosphere effect, I want to show you an application that is outside the DAW. It's called Paul Stretch, and I saw this in another tutorial one time. I'd only seen it once, and I was blown away by what this thing can do. So it works for PC or Mac. Just go Google it. It can stretch a file to like 100 times length, just these ridiculous lengths that'll pull your file so far, it's going to create all these weird melodic textures. So basically, I'm just opening up a sample. It's a sample arpeggio that's in the key of my track, A minor. And what I'm going to do now is tell this to just stretch the file to something crazy long. So let's do 32 times stretch. And then I'm just going to render this to an audio file. So it's going to basically print this really long audio file of this ARP. Okay, I've printed it to audio. I'm back in the DAW and look at what this created. It's like a 4-minute file from that one 10-second arpeggio we started with. And this was the original sample. And this is now what it stretched it into by stretching out 32 times. So let's do it in the mix. This could be pretty cool here. So if you notice, because the arpeggio is changing notes, this is slowly changing notes as well. I really like the first part here. I'm going to see if I could just like cut a piece of this and loop it over and over to just kind of capture the one little bit I like. Totally, and I can crossfade these a little bit to lose that click and pop. Could do that a little bit tighter, but you get the idea. Let's listen in context. Hopefully you could see how easy this one was as well. And this one was pretty random too. And that was the common theme from each of these tips we went over. There was a bit of randomness to it. And I think that's the major takeaway. Don't be afraid when you're trying to create these atmosphere effects to throw some shit against the wall. See what sticks, especially as long as you stay in key like we did. You almost can't go wrong here with long, lush reverbs, adding more delays, and putting some cool processing on to see what you can come up with. So if you enjoyed this video, once again, hit that like button if you haven't, and be sure to subscribe because we have a lot more videos coming, and I definitely want you to catch the next one, which I will see you in.